Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool idea. What if you thought about all of human history not as a series of random, chaotic events, but as a single piece of software? An operating system that's been slowly and sometimes painfully upgrading itself over centuries. Let's get into it.
Think about it. You look at the rise and fall of empires, the wars, the revolutions. Does it all really add up to anything? Or is it just, one thing after another? Well, the source we're looking at today makes a bold claim. There's a definite pattern, a clear direction to all of this madness.
And here it is, the core idea from our source material, author Xiaoyang Lin. The whole argument is that human development isn't just happening to us. It's being driven by us, specifically by the evolution of how we think. It suggests that history is actually headed somewhere specific.
Okay, so if history is going somewhere, where is it going? Well, according to this idea, it's not random at all. It's a clear process, an evolution away from one kind of society and toward a completely different one. The author breaks this down into three big stages. First, you have the coercive group. Think ancient empires, feudal kingdoms, societies where you're part of the collective whether you like it or not. Then something big happens, a huge shift that leads to stage two, the liberated individual. And finally, these newly freed individuals start to form voluntary new groups, communities built on shared ideas and free choice, not force. So what's the engine driving this massive change? It's all about one thing, the freeing of the human mind. The argument is that for most of history, what people were allowed to think was tightly controlled. The real engine for progress, the upgrade if you will, got fired up the moment that control started to crack.
So how exactly did our thinking get unlocked? This wasn't something that happened overnight. It was more like a series of crucial software updates to our collective consciousness pushed forward by a few key people over hundreds of years. Just look at how these moments build on each other. It starts with Augustine suggesting, hey, maybe there's a world outside the emperor's total control. Then, centuries later, the Magna Carta comes along and says even the king has to follow the law. Next up, Martin Luther champions individual faith, which paves the way for John Locke to come in and argue that actually power comes from the people, not from God. Each step was like a critical patch, debugging that old system of absolute top-down authority.
So this entire progression, from the divine right of kings to the consent of the governed, it laid the groundwork for a whole new way to structure society. And to help us understand it, our source uses this really powerful metaphor, society as a computer's operating system. Let's define this thing, the Human Operating System, or HOS. At its core, it's the underlying code a society runs on. It's that foundational set of rules and logic that lets free people work together voluntarily, based on agreements and a shared sense of rights.
And in this analogy, the Magna Carta from 1215, that's the original hardware. It's the foundational chassis, the core framework that established the radical idea that power has limits under the law. It was the base model that all the later, more advanced systems were built on top of.
And from that original hardware, you get different versions of the software. You can think of the legal systems in places like the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia, and even modern Japan as forks in the code. They're all adaptations of that original Magna Carta framework. Heck, you could even see the UN Charter as an attempt to create a global version of this OS. And here's where it all clicks together. If society's laws are the operating system, then every contract you sign, every business you start, every agreement you make, those are the apps. And they can only run because you have a stable, predictable, and trustworthy operating system underneath them all. You can build things because you trust the rules. But what's the magic ingredient here? What makes this operating system actually work so well, allowing all these apps to run smoothly? Well, it all comes down to this really critical link between two powerful ideas: freedom and responsibility.
The author puts it really simply. True responsibility can only exist when there's free choice. If you're forced to do something, you don't really own the result, do you? The source uses this great little example. If he just goes out and buys a dress for his wife without asking, she probably won't wear it. Why? Because it wasn't her choice. But if they go and choose it together, she happily takes responsibility for that choice by wearing it. Simple, but it makes the point.
And this is the fundamental difference between the old and new operating systems. On one side, you have the old experience-based society. It ran on top-down authority, tradition, and basically might makes right. On the other side is the new civilized society, our HOS, which runs on logic, bottom-up consent from the people, and the idea that reason makes right. It's a total paradigm shift.
And this really gets to the heart of it.
The ultimate goal of this entire historical upgrade, it's about creating a society that maximizes the environment for free choice. The idea is, the more freedom people have to make their own choices and to take responsibility for them, the more advanced, prosperous, and truly civilized its society becomes.
So, if history really is a series of upgrades, then our current system, it probably isn't the final version, right? Which means we have to ask the big question, what's next? And this is where the source offers a really provocative vision for HOS 2.0. And yeah, it involves AI.
Okay, so the vision for this next evolution is, well, it's pretty radical. The idea is that government as we know it completely disappears. Nations, bureaucracies, gone. Instead, the whole system is managed by an AI. The law gets radically simplified to just one principle. A crime is anything that infringes on another person's freedom. The AI would handle justice, while regular citizens, netizens, could take over making new rules online.
So why on earth would anyone propose such a radical leap? The logic behind it is that an AI-managed system could, in theory, be free from all the human messiness, corruption, bias, you name it. And the ultimate goal is the exact same one that's been driving history all along: to create a system that maximizes the total amount of freedom for every single person in society. And that's where we'll leave it. This idea of seeing history as a series of software updates, it's a powerful one. It suggests progress isn't just possible, but maybe even inevitable. But it also forces us to ask a tough question. If this AI-governed future really is the next logical upgrade, are we, the users, actually ready to click install? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.